The Cincinnati Bengals are officially 4-6, and they have a tough schedule upcoming. I don't believe that this team can go on a major run and make the NFL playoffs, but anything is possible. For one, I want to say this right here. Joe Burrow has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this season, hands down. And they just lost a game against the Baltimore Ravens, 34-35. Joe Burrow, 428 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jamar Chase went out there and looked like a video game character. 11 receptions, 264 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. This game was basically a shootout. Yet again, this was a rematch of what happened a couple weeks ago, and everything happened down to the T. The defense with the Bengals played exceptionally well in the first half. In the second half, everything went to hell because Coach Lou doesn't make adjustments after halftime, just like how he didn't against the Washington Commanders in that game. And just like how he didn't against the Philadelphia Eagles either. This entire coaching staff this season has been terrible. I don't want to hear about the fact that Zach Taylor helped this team get to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago against the Los Angeles Rams. That was because Joe Burrow was so amazing that season. He was the most sacked quarterback in playoff history, and they still found a way to go out there and make the Super Bowl because Joe Burrow is just that great. And Zach Taylor has done a lot of good things. I don't want to just come on here and make it seem like he's the worst head coach in the NFL. But look at the talent that he has had. Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. This man has had talent across the board, but yet all you have to show for is an AFC Championship appearance and a Super Bowl appearance. That's it. And I do understand it's crazy to call out a coach that has been to a Super Bowl in the last few years, but just hear me out for a second. How many times have the Cincinnati Bengals came out to a slow start in the season? Every single year. Now, if this was just a one-off, we can blame the players and say, you know what, the guys didn't step up. But every single year they go out there and they play down the competition in the first month. This is why you have to take care of business against teams like the New England Patriots, who they lost to early in the season. They also lost against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I will say this, that Chiefs game has hurt them more ways than one than that Patriots game did because they had the Chiefs down. Joe Burrow goes out there, he fumbles the football. That's not on Zach Taylor. It was a pass interference penalty on the defense. It pushes Harrison Butker into field goal range. The problem that I have is the lack of adjustments with this coaching staff. And it was pretty apparent in this game because the defensive players went out there, they played well. They played well enough to win this game, but there were no adjustments. 0. Just like how there was no adjustments against the Commanders and no adjustments against the Philadelphia Eagles a couple weeks ago. They can go out there and they can beat up on bad teams like the Carolina Panthers and the Las Vegas Raiders, but they can't win these close shootout games. And you face the Los Angeles Chargers next week on the road, then you go against the Steelers. Their season is not completely over, but they're in a hole right now that I don't believe they can crawl out of. They're winning based off of talent alone. The coaching is not there to help them out. They're not prepared on a week-to-week basis, and they always come out flat. Now, I will give Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase a lot of credit because they were without T. Higgins in this game, and Chase Brown also fumbled as well. That fumble changed the entire momentum of this entire game. And I hate to do this to Chase Brown because he's been a very good running back this season. I will also say this offensive line is still a problem. You see the amount of times that Joe Burrow had to work around traffic and he had to run outside the pocket to make crazy plays? There were a couple plays and a couple touchdowns to where the offensive line gave him enough time. But at the same time, Joe Burrow has to get the football out quick. Joe Burrow has to run around the sub shop to take the deep shots down the field to Jamar Chase. T. Higgins and the Bengals, they need to separate. You have Yoshi Vosh as a good number 2 option. I think he'll be good long term, and the same with Jermaine Burton as well. The reason why I say move off of T. Higgins, he can't stay healthy, and he doesn't want to be a Cincinnati Bengal in the first place. That man wants to go out there and get the bag, and look, I have no problems with that. He wants to go out there and get his money. He requested a trade. They said, no, you're going to stay here with the Bengals. And he's here for this last season. He wasn't able to stay healthy last season either. But he's a true number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion. I think him and Jamar Chase is one of the best wide receiving duos in the NFL. And maybe if he plays, they possibly go out there and they win this game. But we saw both of these wide receivers play against the Washington Commanders, and they still lost that game as well. They should not be in this situation every single year. They don't run the football enough so they can work off of play action, and they're a shotgun majority of the time. And the times that Joe Burrow is under center, it's the same plays over and over again. They did do a very good job using the tight ends against the Ravens in tonight's matchup because of the simple fact that the wide receivers were out, and basically Jermaine Burton, you have that kid on the bench. He got benched a few weeks ago, and Mike Hilton comes out and says, at a certain point, you have to be held accountable. I don't know what Mike Hilton is talking about because this defense has been terrible all season long. This defense needs to be held accountable as well. I'm talking about how bad Zach Taylor is, and he is as a head coach. Coach Lou and this defense, they're not any help at all. This is one of the worst defenses in the NFL against the pass. Cam Taylor-Britt had a lot to say this season. Now, he's been quiet the last few weeks, but he was getting burned over and over again by Terry McLaurin. When he called the Washington Commanders offense, very simple, look at you now. And also look at what happened against the Kansas City Chiefs. He had a lot to say. He had a crazy interception in that game. You lost as well. And Cam Taylor-Britt is not even the best cover corner. I would say it's DJ Turner. I think he's a better corner this season than Cam Taylor-Britt is. Geno Stone is the guy they got from the Baltimore Ravens in free agency. He had 7 interceptions last season. The man only has 1. And we're at the halfway point in the season. And he's not the same playmaking safety, not even close, that he once was with the Baltimore Ravens. Their only consistent defensive player on a weekly basis is Trey Hendrickson, who leads the league in sacks. He's one of the best pass rushers. He's also a man that went out there and he requested a trade because he wants a contract extension. He's in the last year of his deal. They're going to have to go out there and pay him as well. Easily the best player on this defense. Goes out there every single week and he gives it his all. And he was all over Lamar Jackson tonight. Logan Wilson, I like him a lot at the linebacker position, but he's not an ultimate game changer. The same with Jermaine Pratt as well. Very good players, but they're not over the top. Sam Hubbard, very good run stopper. He's not an elite pass rusher. Last season, he was doing a very good job of getting to the quarterback. This season, he can't get to the passer. Not on a consistent basis. Even on third down. I'm seeing Trey Hendrickson go out there and go against double teams, and he still find a way to get to the quarterback. Their defensive tackles are not the same, so it's easy to run the football on them at times. And like I mentioned before, in the first half, they did a phenomenal job of stopping the run game. But the problem is this, that pass game repeatedly gets abused over and over and over again. They're too Joe Burrow dependent offensively. They still cannot protect him good enough. I understand Orlando Brown missed his game as well. They're dealing with the injuries. But once again, they're not prepared for when these players are out or even when these players are all together at the beginning point of the season. That says a lot about coaching. And I do understand a lot of this stuff is out of Zach Taylor's favor. When a kicker goes out there, he gets pushed into field goal range because of defensive pass interference penalty on your defense against the Chiefs. But they're not prepared to go out there and to go against elite level competition. Just because they've had a couple of good outings against the Kansas City Chiefs in the last few years doesn't mean that Zach Taylor is a good coach. That just means that he's a coach that's coaching up a Hall of Fame talent in Joe Burrow. That's it. When they move off of Zach Taylor, they will be in a better situation. They're always in a hole every single year. Even the year they went out there and made the Super Bowl, they didn't start the season off hot. They always start off 1-2 or 1-3. Then you have to ride the ship all the way out. That's easier said than done. And I do understand the injuries with Joe Burrow. Last season, he wasn't able to stay healthy. He missed the last couple of weeks of the season because he was dealing with a wrist injury. His rookie season, he tears his ACL. If you had a better offensive line, you wouldn't have to worry about these situations. If you could run the football more times than you pass it in certain situations, you'll be better off because of it. Or just force the defense to go out there and respect your run game. No one respects the run game this season with the Cincinnati Bengals. No one does. Look at what happened against the New York Giants. They won that game 17-7. That game should have not been that close. They should have not lost against the New England Patriots in week 1. I understand to watch the Commanders game, you got outgunned in. I think the Cincinnati Bengals have the talent to go out there and still make a push, but it's going to be tough because of Zach Taylor and Coach Lou as well. I have a lot of belief in Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, even T. Higgins if he could stay fully healthy, and Yoshi Vash as well. Far as his defense, besides Trey Hendrickson, Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, and Sam Hubbard, I'm not putting a lot of stock into his defense. because they can't stop elite level teams. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Cincinnati Bengals, and is their season completely over? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.